Hi, Jamie. Thank you for being here. Tonight, we're going to have a conversation about alcohol and your work in Stuck to Unstoppable. And so, first, just for everyone listening, just wanted to give you a little bit of context of why we're here and what this conversation is about. And so, Jamie and I are both licensed clinicians, and I'll get to Jamie's bio in a second. But my work is in alcohol free lifestyle coaching, and Jamie's work is in perfectionism and self sabotage. We talked a few weeks ago and felt like there was some overlap, both in our experiences, but also just in the work that we do. So, hopefully, this conversation will help anyone who's struggling with alcohol as a coping strategy, a maladaptive coping strategy, and then also whether you use alcohol or not, there's a lot of women out there that can relate to perfectionism and self-sabotage. I'm going to read Jamie's introduction here. Coscia is a licensed clinical social worker and life coach with nearly 30 years of experience helping people heal and thrive. Over the past 5 years, she has expanded her work to include life coaching, supporting high achieving women over 40 and rewiring the self sabotaging patterns that keep them stuck. Jamie blends evidence based therapy and intuitive coaching and is trained in EFT or tapping. Her nurturing yet no nonsense approach helps clients move past fear, quiet their inner critic, rebuild confidence, and create lasting transformation from the inside out, which I love.
Sounds good.
It does sound good. I'm definitely
Yeah.
intrigued. Um, yeah, I think that my clients also struggle with the inner critic for sure, needing to rebuild confidence. And really, my work is creating an alcohol free identity, which is not an easy task. So, anyone giving up alcohol, in order to sustain, I believe we have to create an identity that learn to love our alcohol free life. So, yeah, let's jump in. I'd love to hear just from your perspective a little bit more about your program, Stuck to Unstoppable. Maybe we can start with you focusing on rewiring the mind and what that looks like for someone that maybe who's been operating out of self doubt or fear their entire life. Or you want to jump in?
Rewiring for safety because
Mm-hmm.
the amygdala part of our brain, that fight, flight, freeze part, it's there to keep us safe. Your brain wants to keep you alive and safe. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really care about the part. So we have to
Mm-hmm.
create that. So that's the body. When I try to explain this to people, they look at me like, what? The mind and the body, right? The body, aka nervous system. So I
Mm-hmm.
think when people think body, they're like, what do you mean my body doesn't feel safe? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nervous. What's going on? The fascia, like the cells, like just every part of your body feels safe at time. Parts of your body won't feel safe at time. And that signals to your brain, we can't do this thing, or we can't go this place, or we can't stop drinking, or we can't, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, because there's something there's a disconnect. My job is to create the connect again. Like, how do we get
Mm-hmm.
mind and body to connect again? And so it would look like ways to trust ourselves again and be able to take disciplinary small steps to get that message to be the same. Because no matter what we're talking about, their job and being able to complete a task that lasts for hours, she's picking up her phone and she's doing things that self sabotage because she's afraid that she can't do that long task. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
stay here. I won't do that hard thing. I'll just stay here in comfort zone because it's familiar and not do it because my brain is that's going to make us not safe. Is that clear? Does that
Yeah, for people listening, they may not understand what that means because most people are not walking around thinking, I'm afraid or I'm in a fear
right?
state, right? I
Sure.
love going back to childhood, birth to six. I think some we're pretty much formed
Mm-hmm.
from that time. So thinking about adverse childhood experiences. But
Yep.
yeah, I'm curious where does perfectionism originate and how does our nervous system become dysregulated from early
Mm.
on, do you think?
Sure. That's a big answer to simplify it. I guess it really depends on what the trauma might have been, but basics would be you don't have control when you're a kid. You
Mm-hmm.
have to look to these people that are supposed to be taking care of you and giving you the right messages and all of that. And so if you didn't have the right messages, you're always looking for a way to make something better. When you're a kid, you want
Mm-hmm.
to fix everything, right? But there's like the continuum. So someone that would grow up, this is just my from what I've observed, someone grows up in a more healthy environment, they have a lower need for that. They don't grow up in a healthy environment, it might be chaotic, it might be violent, it might be alcohol, drugs, it might be emotional, what is that? Emotional unavailability of the caregiver, all of that,
Mm-hmm.
that need goes up. I have to
Mm-hmm.
find ways to control things. So perfectionism, literally, it's so crazy because talking to somebody today, it's like this is what the person was even saying. I can't do it if it's not going to come out right. I won't even start it if I can't know that I can, this is going to be successful. Stems all the way back. It could be abuse, obviously, like more of an abusive home that would create that. But the idea that, like, I'm not okay, I'm not enough, I'm not going to do this. So maybe you were actually criticized, but you don't have
Mm-hmm.
to have actually been criticized to have perfection. It's just
Mm-hmm.
another type of unfortunate side effect of a dysfunctional home. But you could just feel like that is what you can control. You can control that. I'm not going to start this thing. I have to have everything in a row. I have to have the nicest tree. I have to have the
Mm-hmm.
nicest clothes. Like, perfectionism looks like for you. It could be how I can't start this coaching program until I've gotten my ducks in a row, whatever. That's the way I feel about that. It's coming from the lack of control versus the need to control growing up in those,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
so many other things. But we could be talking about that for hours.
Yeah,
So
one thing that comes to mind, and this might be a long story, but I read a manuscript years ago, even before I became a therapist. Dr. Kevin Solomons wrote a book called The Power of Low Self-Esteem. And the premise of the book is based on his work as a psychiatrist. And he talks about how when we're in the womb, we have all of our needs met. We don't need to cry and we don't
yeah.
for food or comfort. It's so warm. And then we come out and it's the first time where we're like, holy, I'm going to die. And we have to learn very quickly to seek
You
the
need
attention and
somebody.
approval of our
Yeah.
caregivers. And so it reminds me that it
Yes.
may not be obvious what your circumstances were. And a lot of it is pre-verbal, which makes it even harder because we don't even have language for it. But essentially what I think you and I are talking about is that we
Yep.
have to learn how to adapt to the environment that we're in. And if we have an emotionally neglectful or even abusive caregiver, we have to figure that
Those
out.
needs weren't
And
met.
humans are incredible at figuring out how to survive. And so even our maladaptive strategies are pretty amazing, if you
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. Because
um,
what does it
mm-hmm,
serve? It serves
mm-hmm,
alcohol serves a purpose. Any of that would serve a
right.
really important purpose
Mm-hmm, yeah.
to the person that's going through what they're going through.
Yeah, and I think both of our work is we may have had to do those things to survive, but we don't
Right.
need our caregivers in the way that we needed them when we were kids. It's an outdated adaptation. So now upgrade. We need to let in our nervous system know that it's safe enough
That's right.
to not do those things.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
100%. That's the whole
Mm-hmm.
point. But he tells you when you can stop being in survival. Survival mode. And again, it sounds so dramatic, survival mode, but it really
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
And it just depends. It's survival of the emotional survival. It's physical. It could be emotional. It could be actual if people
Mm-hmm.
could eating and finding something to eat and having a safe place to sleep. But it could just be a psychological safety. I feel like how many, I'm sure you do this, have experienced this too. So many people don't think of themselves as ever having been in survival mode. They don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All they've ever known. So when I would, it's so you do what you have to do to survive. It might be a
Right.
people pleasing thing. It might be like not ever saying no because if survival means I need to get this validation or so it's just there's so much. This is such a big topic. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things to learn from that. Oh, now I need someone to. What would have been something that you needed to do when you were a kid? Don't have a voice and don't speak up because you're supposed to
Right.
be seen and not heard. And you had to stay quiet because you had to be like literally, if you make a noise, maybe that person might be paying attention to you, and now you're going to get the wrath or whatever. So I have to stay very quiet and stay very okay. That's not good to do when you're an adult, right? Because everybody says,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, come on, like talk, like what do you want? Have a voice, be I am woman, hear me roar. We can't do
Mm-hmm.
that. If all your life you had to stay quiet to be accepted and
Yeah.
to be safe. When I realized that, oh my goodness, when I realized that was what
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about right now, when I realized it for myself, it was an eye opener because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize I was still in survival mode into such a late
Mm-hmm.
year of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it can be really subtle. I've heard clients say that they think they had a pretty decent childhood and they're still struggling with some of these things. It's all about how we interpret. It's a gene by environment interaction. So you don't really know. Every child's different. And they say that no sibling has the same parents either. You could be in the same household with your sibling, and you could have a completely different experience. I guess what tends to show up in your office, so to speak, or in your inbox? How is it showing up in adult life and women over 40? Some of the things that
A
they may
lot of,
be struggling with.
or like, they don't call it self-sabotage, but it
You're right.
is self-sabotage. They don't necessarily call it procrastination. Some people do know, like, I keep saying I'm going to do this thing and I can't do it. I don't know why they beat themselves up. That just the stuckness of it all and not feeling enough. Those are the two things. And then, of course, that's not trusting yourself. And that turns into a lot of sabotage. You don't even know that you're sabotaging yourself when you are, like, just thinking that you're lazy. And it's not really being lazy, because protect myself. I don't need to go out there and try to figure out how to bake a cake and start a cake business, because nobody's going to buy my cakes anyway. And everything I do never works out anyway. And in every relationship, I'm not going to, why should I go on the dating? A lot of people are looking for love that I see, not because that's what I specialize in, but because people are looking for relationships. I'm not going on that dating website because everybody's, so again, you're throwing a monkey wrench into things because you had negative experiences. The idea of why you can't push past that. That's that stuck. That's subconscious programming. What did you see when you were a kid? And then what age do you feel like when you were a kid, a teenager or a young adult, where you just didn't feel like you were worthy? People say that they feel confident and I know I'm enough. Okay, but there's like still a continuum. We can be like 70% of the way there, and that's a lot because we used to be 30, or there's that 30%, and that might be where your deepest goals are that you still want to achieve. And that's the over 40 thing that I'm focusing on, because this is that last quarter of the game here. When you want to make sure you do the things. Wayne Dyer said, don't die with the music in you. It grabbed me and I was like, oh, I can't, just can't. I have to do this. Not because somebody else said to, not because of the money, because this is what I've always wanted to do. Definitely going to write books, I should say, not just a book. And that's for me, that's my goal. So that's that like feeling of, why do I keep sabotaging that? And then I can go back and figure that out. That's what I want to help people be able to do that too. Because then there's no regret. You don't want to regret.
Yeah, that just reminded me of so many things. But I guess Brene Brown comes to mind. She talks about
Oh yeah.
the midlife unraveling. And I think, especially for women, we spend so much of our life, we're socialized to be accommodating and helpful and kind. And I think we spend so much of our life living for other people, a lot of codependency. And then we
Yeah.
get to this over 40 and we're like, this is
Yeah.
not a life I want to live for another 40 years. So,
Right. Or what is the life or
yeah.
is this all there is? Or just, oh my goodness, it's like you get the guts when you get older, and then you don't have sometimes the physical abilities to do some of the things that you would have rather have done when you were younger, but the guts come. And then there's still self-sabotage or perfectionism, and the idea of perfectionism, and sort of, I'm not going to do it if it's not right. And then I went the other way, where I'm just going to make some reels or videos, and then being able to watch them or being able to hear your voice, the amount of anxiety, holy moly, like just still not being able to really look at them, just throw it out there and do it. But that was a small step. So you asked me a few questions ago. It's, what would it look like? It's the small, which isn't really small, but small intentional step. That's a win that kind of builds your confidence. That kind of helped me build my confidence more. Just knowing that everybody saw that reel, and that's a real thing right now that happened. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't shrivel up and die, like quit. It was just, oh, okay. Everybody saw me do that. And that was a big deal for me because I had never done things. I'm a really private person.
I was just thinking that's part of the process. It'll never feel comfortable, right? Like change is just naturally uncomfortable. We'll resist it. There's going to be some uncomfortable feeling. And if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're probably not challenging yourself enough.
Like they say, if you're not scared, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, if your
Right.
goal doesn't scare you or something, then you're not doing something. But it is true, and it all gets back again to safety. So if you were, do you know people that are just really risk? I don't know what's the
Averse.
opposite of No, the opposite way, where
Oh,
they like it. They're
oh,
like risk takers,
yeah.
like it. I always just sit there in awe. I'm like, you learned the exact opposite of what I learned, which is stay away from any risks. In certain risks, like physical, like I don't like roller coasters, or I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like driving like over 100 miles an hour. This stuff does not get my. I'm not an adrenaline person, but that some people go exactly the opposite way, and they will take those risks because
Mm-hmm.
they're not. It's like the opposite. It's like that's their safety is being in a risk. See, that's
Mm-hmm.
such a different way of thinking about things, and that has to do with some of the alcohol and drug abuse world
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
You mean living in chaos?
Yeah, what you consider a safe, or excuse me, not safe,
Mm.
familiar, a familiar,
Mm,
and that's
right.
just my opinion. But I also know that I'm not. That's not my field of study,
Mm-hmm.
but just from the people, from my own study, from my
Mm-hmm.
own, you know, that what I have noticed and what people sometimes do.
Yeah, I think being in the field of alcohol and when life feels really chaotic and overwhelming, that's what caused me to use alcohol. Anything that would like take the edge off and numb the overwhelm and the overstimulation because life felt very chaotic as a kid and it just with me until and I didn't really struggle until later in my life with it, but it became very clear that alcohol was just a way to kick the can down the road and keep me from actually learning how to rewire my thought
Yep.
process and feel safe in my body without using alcohol. So, I guess if someone listening to this call right now was really resonating with what you're saying and maybe they're not using alcohol, maybe they are, but how do you work with them to feel okay with confronting the fear?
First of all, I like to see what people's self talk is, and
Mm-hmm.
usually you can tell by talking to them. But that is the beginning of it all for my work. I feel like it's that
Mm-hmm.
initial state. It's like I've noticed I didn't do it on purpose. I don't know how it actually happened, but I just started to really pay attention to how people were speaking about themselves, about the way they described things, and that gave me a big window of understanding. And so I work with people to be more neutral in their self-talk, and I was so bad at this, and I it was so fun. I even had these I was so negative to about myself, and I would say like the worst things, and I would just laugh about it. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
just very sarcastic, and I would just say the worst things, always about myself, not about other people, and it became this weird comfort thing that I felt like I needed to do to excuse things. And so I remember I even had this list of things that only ever happened to me that I literally called it that. Anytime something bad would happen, I'd say, there you go again. I could put that on the list, add it to the list of things that just happened to me. Because all these
Mm-hmm.
odd things have happened in my life. And of course, through all the traumas, you start to think that you're bad luck, you're just not worthy of a good life, and that you just are like a sort of just have I don't know, you're just bad luck. Just bad luck. Everything's bad. So like a dark cloud is like hanging over you. And I would have that list, mental list. And so every time something would happen, I would get a ticket out of nowhere and I would think, oh my God, everybody else is speeding, but why do I get the ticket? Just the weirdest things.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I just was teaching this whole self talk to my client. And I just remember saying, Amy, you do this. Get rid of the list. And I would just remember I I killed the list. I killed the list and then I started to do it and my life got so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped calling myself names. I just stopped. I just got neutral. I said, okay, everybody gets tickets. You got a ticket. You were speeding. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not some plot against you. Or just
Mm-hmm.
other things in my life that happened that I thought were pretty bad and I couldn't understand them. So the only way I could understand it is by doing this sort of negative self flagellation to myself. You're a bad person. You're just, when they were passing out like love, you just could miss, you just missed that
Mm-hmm.
day. Like you deserve it. So I stopped doing that. And so that's what
Mm-hmm.
I do with clients. Just do the self talk stuff, figure out, get people neutral. And that takes a minute to do. really informs, right? Your thoughts, what you're thinking, how you speak, and then how you act. It's all related. But if
Mm.
I don't think I'm that person anymore, I don't think I'm a person that's got bad luck. I don't think I have a bad dark cloud hanging over my head, which is what my mother told me when I was growing up. So that's where that came from. But we're
Mm.
just, you just have the worst luck, and we just have this dark cloud over us. So I always thought that. So once
Mm.
I stopped feeling that way, like then I just saw myself as a person that actually was doing her best. And I had more compassion for myself. So then that leads into having compassion for yourself and starting to talk to the inner child if you need to and figure out what they need and all of that good stuff. And then using all of the techniques to just keep going every day so
Mm.
that you can get to the goal that you're trying to achieve. It's all about getting to whatever it is that you want to do. Even if it's just to do nothing, even if it's not a doing thing, but just to, I want to live in this peaceful life and I don't want to feel like I have to keep rushing and running or whatever your goal is.
Mm.
It's that's why I really feel like it's worked the best. It's simple, but it isn't easy, but it's pretty simple. And those things have worked a lot. And with the tapping and adding that in.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about tapping?
I would describe it. It's emotional freedom technique,
Mm.
EFT or tapping. Using these pressure points to apply light pressure to, you can move energy. It is an energy technique, but it's also training the brain to relax. So
Mm.
it's relaxing and calming. So you're actually, if you're in a stressful situation or even thinking about a stressful situation, it's the best time to do it. You are then telling your body to calm and it's okay to calm. And you're
Mm.
sending a message, a clear message to the brain, which you wouldn't be able to do that well because normally you're talking a lot of junk to yourself in your head. We talk a
Mm-hmm.
lot of junk to yourself. It's like, why is that? Why did I let this happen? Or we're talking junk about somebody else, whatever, like they're an idiot. But whatever it is, it's not helping to calm us down. When we
Mm.
do the tapping, I like it so much is that you don't have to be really good at that other part yet. You just doing the tapping. So like you don't have to like a lot of techniques you have to believe it or you have to be calm
Mm-hmm.
or you have to be in a certain state. But with tapping, you just go ahead and do it and it's going to calm you right down. So you don't need to be perfect to do it already for
Mm.
people that have, that's why people won't meditate. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
found that like people, oh, I can't do it. It's the
Right.
hardest thing to get anybody to meditate that has any
Mm-hmm.
kind of they won't even try. I have a hard time getting people to tap a lot, but less hard
Mm-hmm.
time. People are like, "What you said to do? I don't remember what you
Yeah.
have to say." And then I'll say, "Listen, whatever comes to your mind, and if you can't think of anything, just don't say anything." So I
Mm.
make it really easy.
And tapping includes a positive affirmation at the same time. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yep. Yes. And yes, but the way I would word it is, you're getting out the negative feelings, and then it's I accept myself as with it. And yes, that is like a positive affirmation, but I kind of steer away from using the word positive a lot because it sounds, people get all weirded out by it sometimes because it
Mm.
sounds too much. It's just saying, hey, I accept myself. I like to say acceptance. Hey, there's all this stuff going on. Even though I'm really so angry right now about blah, 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 I accept myself and the way I feel. Like
Mm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
the way that some people do it is they'll say, I love myself, or I completely, entirely love myself. It feels weird for people to say that. So I just
Mm-hmm.
say it. I accept myself because I get it, even though I don't like it, but this is how it is. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
way that feels inside when you tap.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
you're giving yourself like an internal massage of acceptance. It's like where you
mm-hmm.
can't get it normally because you can't
Mm-hmm.
get inside yourself like that. So when you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
after you say your statements and then you do the tapping, it's like your body goes, okay. The mind can't always let it go right away, and that's fine. It takes longer because you've been
Mm-hmm.
believing this thing long. Like a thought that you keep on thinking turns into a belief. So obviously you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have been hanging on for a long time, right? So it
Right.
takes a minute to get that to move, but then you're moving energy, you're relaxing your nervous system, and you're giving and you're rewiring your subconscious mind to be more accepting of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I kind of live by what we resist persists. I think Rumi said
Yes.
it. So
Oh,
really
yeah.
acceptance is, yeah, it's such a game changer. what we can accept. And then also a couple things. I think a lot of our core beliefs come in pre-verbal or like birth to
Yeah.
six, right? So those get really stuck and they're really hard to work with. The other thing,
Yes.
just to normalize this for people, is that our brains have a negativity bias. So like we actually imprint negative information quicker and it lasts longer, right?
Yep.
So they say, like in relationships,
Because
they
of
say, yeah,
because of the
yeah,
survival thing.
exactly. Doesn't care about
Yep.
being happy. I think you said earlier, right?
Right.
Just cares about survival. Um,
Yep.
but Gottman's work talks about how in relationships, I know that's unrelated to what we're talking about today, but I think it's interesting that he'll help his clients with every negative information interaction. You have to have 10 interactions to like counter that, 10 positive interactions to counter that negative
For what? For
interaction. I'm pretty
everyone.
sure.
That makes Yes, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
So this is definite. It's simple, but it is, yeah, the consistency and acceptance and patience, I think, are
Yes.
all really important.
Yep.
And
And compassion.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you can't, if especially with like alcohol or any addiction, and actually you can use the tapping in for addiction. I've had, since I don't specialize in that, it's not like I'm doing it for addiction. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a ton of people that are drinking more than they want to, and I always say do the tapping before the time that you would usually see if you'll just drink less, because it clears things out and it could delay that response.
Yeah, that makes, just like meditation is, people resist because they probably have a very agitated mind. And so there's just too many thoughts. And we're not trying to get rid of the thoughts. We're just trying to observe, notice, like
Yes.
clouds in the sky, just
Yep.
let them pass. And when we can do that, the urges subside. And it sounds like that's what EFT does too.
Yep.
Yeah, very
And it
cool.
helps with like even food addictions and things like that. I've had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people use that somewhat successfully, and just move it out of the way. It's like having a bunch of gnats in the summertime. You walk into those
Mm-hmm.
big, what? It's like that. It's like your thoughts and all of that yucky stuff are just right here. And when you tap it, like they start to move out of the way so you can see. And then maybe they go here. And then maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually what you want is for those thoughts to go back here in the hard drive of your brain, that you can still access them if you need to, but it would be way harder to do that. We don't want yucky thing that we're feeling to be right here in front of our face all day. It takes too much
Mm-hmm.
energy, clouds everything. But if we can tap and get it like just out of your way even a little bit, oh, I see all the nice things I want to see, and then it's but it's not blocking the nice things I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Observe is your reality. So all I see is this crap. Okay, then that's all you're gonna. That's not good. So
Right.
it's just, we can rationalize all we want to, but obviously, if we could change our thoughts like that, like nobody would even need to be in therapy for the most part, because our
Right.
thoughts would change. And then if I could do the things that were in my head and I didn't need, then I wouldn't need to be finding a coach for that or finding a therapist or anyone. And that's just the way,
Mm-hmm.
because again, our mind and body are not speaking the same language. But a lot of people don't know that. And sometimes we go to therapy for years and people did not get that work done. They got a lot of awareness, or they got a lot of processing of trauma where they got to talk about it a lot, but they weren't really processing it. That's just
Mm-hmm.
talking about it. It does
Mm-hmm.
make you feel better when you talk about things, obviously, to an
Mm-hmm.
extent. But then there's a point at which it doesn't feel good anymore, and people want more. And then they'll leave that therapist, or they'll leave, and they'll be, oh yeah, I think I'm good. Then they go out in the
Mm-hmm.
world and they're not all good for certain things, and then they wonder why.
Yeah.
That's where my coaching program, I feel like, takes the next step from there, because you got to go deeper. You got to go back and get all that stuff. But it's not deeper. Talk about it again. Deeper as in doing the tapping, getting that subconscious reprogramming, rewiring done so that you get it, and you can always do it yourself. Then you can just keep doing it yourself.
Yeah, I think sometimes therapy can feel a little bit like pushing dirt around. Talk therapy can feel like pushing dirt around. Yeah. So, what have you noticed differences between therapy and coaching? Like, we really do have to put on different hats between being a clinician and a coach. I guess, how would you, if someone's wondering if they need coaching or therapy, how do you make that distinction for the things that you're working with?
I know I'm talking about trauma and all of this, but I wouldn't be, when you're coaching, you're not diagnosing anyone with anything. There's no medical necessity that you're treating, but
Mm-hmm.
people still can have obviously trauma. But when I do this, when I'm not in my therapy role, I'm not going to be getting into it, all of the nitty gritty. We're not diagnosing, we're not doing nitty gritty. When I was 10, this what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, hey, I've got self-sabotage around blah blah blah, feeling versus feeling like a failure because I didn't do all these things by now. That's the
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff we're gonna talk about. We're gonna work on it. We're not gonna get into the exact things that happen. I'm not gonna be treating for anxiety or depression or there's no these are but there's an overlap because we're like EFT could be for any of the things, right? But I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
teach EFT for anxiety, depression, post traumatic
Mm-hmm.
stress disorder.
Right.
I'm teaching for, hey, let's move back this past this stuck stuff it's more, I don't want to say it's more general because it almost makes it sound, but I can't think of another word right off the top of my head, but it's taking it up another level. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
getting into nitty gritties of all of the exactness of
Right.
the, I don't know if that's clear,
Yeah,
but
I think it's action oriented. Therapy can be action oriented as well, but yeah, you're not looking back, you're looking forward, trying to
yeah.
figure out
I,
how
and up
to.
with my next
Mm-hmm.
one, I forgot the most obvious thing, which is you're working on the goals of what someone wants to work
Mm-hmm.
on. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
in therapy, you're working on symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah, something you said reminded me of like spirituality, and I'm a big like why person. Like I make
Yeah.
meaning out of everything, which is like a blessing and a curse. And I
Yep.
was listening to a Kabbalah instructor. I'm not well versed in it, just why we have such adversity in life. And
Mm,
he described, imagine if you're playing soccer and there's no goalie, and you just like kick the ball in the net. It's so not rewarding,
right.
right? And and that really helped
That's a good one.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you have any thoughts about like why
Oh
do we have
yeah,
this
because like
adversity?
I would have been, yeah, and me, I would have been like not anywhere near that situation because I have to make everything hard. My life is adversity with a capital A, but I think I'm just challenging myself because when you've had so much of it, it becomes like normal. It just is
Mm,
familiar and it's familiar on such a molecular level, literally. If it just feels fun or easy, I'm not, I can't speak for you, but I know for me, like there have been times when I just thought, that's boring.
mm,
Or, oh yeah, that person's boring because they're not toxic. You know what I mean? It's just, oh
mm-hmm,
my God. But it just is crazy that you're wired that way. You get
mm-hmm,
wired. You literally get
mm-hmm,
wired for this stuff. You get wired for safety. You get wired for not safety. You get wired for like emotional availability or good community. You can learn to communicate better, yes,
mm-hmm,
but you get wired for like narcissistic ways, and you get
mm-hmm,
wired for that. You get wired
mm-hmm,
for manipulative, and you get wired for it just based on the way that you grew up. And it doesn't mean that you're not a good person. You just get wired this way.
mm,
That's why I have trauma. It's yes, you can be people pleasing trauma, but then you can also be narcissistic, passive aggressive trauma. Those two things usually gravitate towards each other. And it's, oh my God, then
mm-hmm,
you just think you're recreating this. You think you're getting somewhere because, again, like you were saying, what if you could just hit the goal and you don't have it wouldn't be fun because you need adversity. Yes, there has to be contrast. I listen to a lot of law of attraction. It's like you need the contrast. Of course, we need the contrast. It's just like, but we also need to visualize. This is another thing that I do a lot of that I didn't mention before. Visualize, what do you want? That's like one of the first things I do too. It's like, what first we have to get down, what do you want? And then you visualize it with all of your senses. What does it say, smell like? What does it taste like? What does it look? Because I want you to be so crystal clear about it that you already are like walking into it because you really can see it. When you don't know, then that you're not gonna go for it. There's nothing to go
mm-hmm,
for. It's a lot
mm-hmm,
harder. It's like way far away. It's not, oh yes, I can see it. I actually could see myself writing a book, writing my signature in a book and handing it to somebody. Like I could so see that. People that
mm-hmm,
just rehearse, they always say, oh, who I was just listening to. Oh, Eddie Murphy. I was watching the Being Eddie on Netflix. And he said, I never doubted that I was ever going to be famous. He did not doubt it at all. And Oprah said the same thing. I've heard other people say it. They
mm-hmm,
just knew it. They just knew it. And they all had adversity too. But I guess something that another podcast to talk about, like what that's about.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, like the whole. grit thing and why some people do and some people don't make it.
Yeah. And that just reminds me, like, just how powerful we really are. Like, whatever we believe, we could make come to fruition. And you said something earlier that made me think of the reticular activating system. Basically, we're just calling in information all day long. So
Mhm.
if you're thinking negative things, you're calling in negative. But if you're thinking
That's right.
positive and visualizing positive, you're calling that in. And yeah, you be very careful what you think about and what you say. I've heard a pastor say, if you can finish the sentence with whatever it is, and that's the way I like it, like
Yeah.
you'll
Oh
catch
yeah.
yourself really quick if you're saying such an idiot and that's the way I like it.
Right.
No, you don't want to keep saying that. So I like that little trick that to catch
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
because
Yes.
calling it
Hence why
in.
I got rid of the list because it was like so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even believe I ever did that. I do
Mm-hmm.
know, but I have to have compassion for that version of myself that she really felt like she was bad luck. She really thought that there was like a dark cloud over everything that she did. So
Mm-hmm.
only seems natural to think something like that.
Mm.
But I still can't believe it sometimes
Yeah.
because I just don't do anything like that anymore. I'm way more compassionate. And that's what I would want to teach other people to do because not perfect, because there is no such thing as perfect, but it's not even like I've completed all the things that I want to do. I know I have a path to it. This is a journey. This is not a race, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a journey. This is a marathon, right? This is a
Right.
race. This is a journey.
Right.
And it's like I can enjoy the days a little bit more. But sometimes I don't because I'm like, oh, I didn't do all these things. And then other times I'm like, if you didn't do any of this, it still would be okay. Just reminding myself that is like huge accomplishment. If I just said, I don't need to do the coaching thing, I don't need to do whatever, I would just be okay. I could just really just be okay. I did a lot of things I want. It's because I really want to do it. And it feels like some music that's inside of me that I don't want to leave there. But you still have to feel okay in your skin. And that's the thing. And that's the thing I want to work on specifically with women. And I work with men and women. I do it on my therapy practice, but I think it's just important to be able to focus on just one thing. So I have to work with women that because we do have a lot of conflicting messages in this world. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, you're supposed to be so nurturing and so motherly and have 10 kids and stay home and work or don't stay home, work. And then there's be a businesswoman and be a badass and anybody give it and do it. I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? Which
Right.
one is me? I can be any of those things. And then it's, oh, but be soft and don't be this and don't nag and don't, oh, so I
Yeah.
feel compelled to help women find their path, whatever that is, but then not trick ourselves into thinking that we have to do more. Because there's almost
Mm-hmm.
like that feeling, right? Like even in this program, like we have to do more. But how do you
Mm-hmm.
separate? I'm doing this because this is truly what I want to do, and not just because I'm trying to achieve this never-ending validation. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's where we overlap is we have to get to a place where we like ourselves, where we're okay and don't feel like there's so much pressure to be something. Like, what do you want me to be is common in codependency. What do I need to be for you? What do I need to be for someone else? And so we're trying to heal those things so that there isn't an urge to drink or there isn't an urge to, there's tons of maladaptive strategies
Creative
bury
thinking is
themselves
one.
in. Yeah. So you mentioned
Inner critic.
compassion earlier. Compassion is to alleviate suffering. And so we want to alleviate our own suffering. Love
Compassion. Yeah.
ourselves might be a stretch or might sound cliche, but
Yes.
do you have any thoughts about like how one might be thinking, how on earth do I love myself? I don't even like myself.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
how do you work
So
with
I'm so
that?
happy that you are asking me some of these questions because these are the ways that I actually do work with people and think. So it's nice because I tend to operate from that position of, like I was saying before, about how I don't always use the word positive. Not because I don't think that it's a good thing, but because it's so far from like how people are
Mm,
thinking that I'm usually
mm-hmm,
seeing on a day that you're really going to lose people when you do that.
Mm.
So compassion and loving yourself. It's another one of those things where it's, oh God, I just want to barf. Leave me alone. And then when people will even say to me, how do I actually do that? And
Mm.
so then that's when we start to talk about our small, I know it sounds very boring to keep on saying the same thing, but small, steady steps. And then
Mhm.
get to there. Something as simple as, okay, what can you do today to love yourself more? Asking
Mhm.
yourself that question. Or if I really
Mhm.
love myself right now, what would I do? Like in a
Mhm.
particular situation, like
Mhm.
I find myself feeling down, instead of going to the music to listen to all the sad stuff
Mhm.
or drinking, sometimes that has happened, and other things, right? I'll ask myself, what do you need in there? And then
Mhm.
lo and behold, an answer shall come.
Mhm.
And it's as simple as taking the time. I always I say, if you were the little kid standing there and they were saying something to you, would you just tell them to go away and buzz off?
Right.
Gosh, I hope not.
Yeah.
You're gonna say, "What do you need, Jamie?" What the little Jamie?
Mhm.
What's going on?
Mhm.
I just don't want to do anything else, and I'm just gonna get in the bed and I'm just gonna relax and watch like a funny movie. Okay, let's do it. This is not rocket science, right? If you just
Mhm.
listen to yourself. I don't
Mhm.
exercise. This is a good one too. I don't exercise as much as I want to. Very common. Everybody says, I know in my head what to do. I just can't seem to do it. I decided to use my little method on myself. So I
Mhm.
said, all right, Jamie, this is getting ridiculous now. What's going on here? So I said, what do you need? And lo and behold, myself told me that I need privacy, warmth, and there was a third thing. Oh,
Mhm.
and to know what to do. And to know what to
Mhm.
do. I don't like working out when I'm cold.
Mhm.
I need privacy. I
Mhm.
don't be because the little place I can go work out here, there's somebody there sometimes when I go, and I don't like it, and so I avoid
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
anyway, point is, I figured this out, and this works. With the compassion, that's loving myself because I like
Right.
literally know now what to do, and now I can make steps towards doing that. So how am I
Mhm.
going to be able to love myself more, have compassion if I don't know what I need?
I love that little process you just did there because it speaks to so many different things. One, if we listen, our bodies and our internal parts will tell us what we need to know. Um, but also, it brings up just this mothering. And I know that you and I are both moms, but yeah, you just have, like, how would you love your child through something? And every child is unique. I only have one,
Yeah,
but
me
I
too.
know his, yeah, I know his temperament and I know his personality. I know I can see like a look on his face and I will typically know what's going on. And so I think it's just about learning to be our primary caregiver, right? To listen, to be loving, to be caring, to accept, to acknowledge. Every internal part wants to be seen, heard, and valued without judgment, just like our external friends and family. So yeah, I love that process. Mm.
And the problem with that is, what if the primary caregiver that you actually had, or
Mm.
caregivers, or one of them at least,
Mm.
wasn't all those lovely things you just said? Doesn't
Right.
didn't fulfill all those things. That's the problem. And then
Mm-hmm.
the voice that
Mm-hmm.
that you're that's why I like to work with the inner critic first, is because first we got to get that settled, because that inner
Mm-hmm.
critic is keeps sabotaging the situation. So that inner
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize, I thought I could, oh, I have all this knowledge. I know how to
Mm.
do all these techniques, but the inner critic was kicking my butt,
Yeah.
which is why I have that quiz. Are you your own worst critic?
Mm.
Because it's very important, like, to know if you're doing that, because people will just think it doesn't matter. Do you know we have, what is it, like over 60,000 thoughts a day, and over
Mm.
80% of them negative.
Mm.
Negative could be
Mm-hmm.
anything from that looks dumb to, oh, you're dumb. A
Mm-hmm.
negative thought is a negative, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them are actually hurtful to ourselves. So that's what's going on in there. You don't see that kid. You don't know the kid that's sitting in your classroom is doing that. You don't know the people in your chair of whatever you're doing, cutting hair or wherever. You don't know what's going on in there. We don't see it. We can't see it. But I bet you any money that it's a lot of mirroring of what happened in the actual your actual primary giver's voice is what's in your head. And I'm sure there's tons of studies to prove
Mm.
the voice that you're primarily hearing. When I was being really critical of myself, ta-da, that was of that. So now that I've changed for the most part, pretty much did a U-turn on the voice. So when you're saying this mothering, it's yes, you're 100%, 1,000%. But that sounds weird to people when you say you have to reparent your inner child. But it is really true that you need to be a passionate parent that you didn't have. And so how do you do that if you didn't have the tools? So that's
Yeah.
where, all the
I think it's a subtle shift because even though you and I have had experiences where we might have a strong inner critic, I feel like
yeah,
I'm very capable of loving my son well. And so I think
yes,
that's where I'm encouraging people to think about how do you love well to other people and can you love
that's right.
well to yourself and be that caregiver even if you did have a critical parent. But yeah, I also think that there's no bad parts. Like from an IFS perspective, that part helped you alive and was an adaptation that you needed. And so we definitely don't want to push it away or make it feel like it's doing a bad thing. We just want to let that part know that it doesn't need to do that anymore.
Do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Basically,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I
yeah.
say that all the time. There
Hmm.
isn't, you're not, if it needed to be, it wouldn't be there if it didn't need to be there at some point.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I was even saying before, like, which it was oddly placed, but when I was saying about the drinking, is that even with that, when people are feeling bad and ashamed of that, like I
Hmm.
talk to people about no, because that was the path of least resistance at that time.
Right. Yeah.
So
100%.
nothing,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. Like
Hmm.
people will do even like eating disorders, all kinds of things, the
Hmm.
OCD, like whatever people are
Hmm.
to me that they're ashamed of, even if I don't specialize in that thing. Of course, I've seen tons and tons of people with all these things, and it always brings about a lot of shame and guilt. But I always say, but you're doing that because it's a survival coping strategy, however you want to
Hmm.
put it, that's actually helping
Right.
you. Or you
Hmm.
wouldn't be doing it because we're, like you said, we're adaptive and we have to
Hmm.
do what.
Yeah.
And you're right, there are no bad parts. There's absolutely
Hmm.
no bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Looking at the time, we should probably wrap it up. And I was thinking maybe we can just give like a few steps for people just to summarize everything that we talked about and just give some order to it. What do you think are the next right steps if someone is really resonating with this conversation and wants to take action?
What are the things that I haven't done yet? What you still have on the list of things to do? Is that what you meant? You mean about like whether they would be needing coaching? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, needing coaching or just if someone wants to take action from this video, I'd probably say awareness is the first step. I'd probably say normalizing the resistance because it's going to come. Everything in your body is going to tell you to stay exactly the same. Um, so those would probably be my first two, but I don't know if you have any.
But the mind, the
Mm-hmm.
body, the
Mm-hmm.
disconnect, always remembering that the thoughts in the body are two different things. Like your mind and your body. The
Mm-hmm.
mind follows the body. The mind
Mm-hmm.
follows the body. So calm the body and then the mind follows. Hence, like
Mm-hmm.
tapping or any other breathing things you could do, or anything that you want to do that will calm your body, but then your
Mm-hmm.
mind follows, and then it will feel like you can get things done. But yeah, there's a lot of steps in between that. But neutral self talk,
Mm-hmm.
having a little bit of compassion for yourself by asking yourself what you need right then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say listening, because getting quiet and really listening without judgment to what your
Oh
body
yeah,
has to tell you, I think you can get a lot of information from that. Um,
yep, yep. And remembering to tell yourself, like when it gets to be a little overwhelming, that that was then and this is now.
mm,
Sometimes it's an anchor kind of statement. There's different people call them affirmations, but I don't know why that word sometimes makes me think that people will push it away because it sounds too, again, like positive affirmations. We
mm-hmm.
negatively affirm time. But just the idea that I have this little mantra anchor, I can say, I am willing to release everything that no longer serves me, or that was then, this is now, or I'm doing the best I
Mm-hmm.
can. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, this can do. Or these simple one liners, that calming, nurturing feeling. That's what you want to give yourself.
So thinking about just some steps that people can take away, it sounds like you agree that awareness is the first step, recognizing that you have a goal and you might feel stuck in
Yep.
areas of your life, marriage, relationships, work, maybe a hobby that you don't know how to get started. or don't feel good enough to get started. Nutrition and exercise, those are areas that we tend to feel stuck. Money, there's so many areas we can feel stuck. And just so recognizing what your goal is, and then to the resistance, because it will come. And if it hasn't yet, it probably means that you're not challenging yourself, or moving toward change. And then listening to what your body already knows. I do believe our bodies are so intelligent and wise, and our inner parts tend to know exactly what they need and want, just like the part of you that knew what you needed to exercise. I think that's brilliant.
Yep.
And then, yeah, being careful of your self-talk and learning to
100%.
develop compassion for yourself. Is there
By
anything else?
asking yourself what you need, because again, that compassion. I know we spent a while talking about how it just seems like foo-foo-y, gotta love myself, but literally how you would like love a child. If there's a
Mm-hmm.
child right there, the
Mm-hmm.
way you would love that child is the way we should love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly 100. And I know it's hard sometimes because we've done some things that we don't wish that we didn't do, or
Mm-hmm.
we feel just mad at ourselves about it. And I know, and I get it. But the way that a kid, when you're a kid or a kid that you love or any kid would come and say, "Oh, I messed that up," would you sit there and
Right.
say, "Yeah, and why did you do that? And that was stupid, and you're stupid."
Right.
No, you'd be like, "It's okay. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. We do it." I remember watching my own kid get so mad at himself about the things, and I would just say, "Oh," I felt my heart breaking because I felt to be hard on himself because I know how that feels. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's that feeling of, wouldn't it be nice if it was okay? So just don't think of it as hard to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be hard to love yourself. It's just letting yourself know that it's okay. It doesn't mean that you won't do a different thing tomorrow and you won't work hard and you won't try again. It just means it's okay that it didn't work out today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That whatever you were doing, right, didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out today.
Yeah. Acceptance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accepting that is like the key, the gateway to all of the other
Mm-hmm.
things. I feel like we
Right.
could just say that one word.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what tapping is about. That's what most of the exercises that I do are about. And at
Mm-hmm.
the end, your self-talk has to be neutral so that you can show yourself a little bit. It's crazy that we have to do this, but we have more fear in our body than any other emotion. And it's that thousands of years ago when we had to fight saber-toothed tigers.
Right.
It's just like fight, fight, freeze. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, we still have a little bit of that there, right? So
Mm-hmm.
teach yourself
Absolutely.
the safety techniques because it's psychological safety, hopefully more than physical safety that we're seeking. And so
Mm-hmm.
then perfectionism, self-sabotage are born from the need to create that for ourselves, but we're just doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Not say the wrong way, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Like you said, it's an adaptation, but we don't need that adaptation.
Yeah. And learning how to feel safe in your body, and learning how to live without alcohol, and learning to love yourself. These are all things that take time and practice, and it's not like flipping a light switch.
Mhm.
So, yeah, give yourself time. This might be a little bit of a random plug, but it reminds me of yoga. Yeah, I'm a yoga teacher. Yoga can be really challenging, but trying to find ease in the discomfort. And
Yes.
I was at a class today, and that was my takeaway from today is there's always a peak to everything. There's always, and building up to that peak is super uncomfortable, but then nothing in the external environment changes except it's just that what happens inside. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that humans are incredible. And that's just another example of how we adjust and adapt and figure it out.
Yep. And it doesn't take as long. I do want to say too, it doesn't take as long sometimes as we think it's going to take
Mm,
to actually move beyond these things. Even
yeah.
as like a therapist, I have clients I've seen for years, but I've also had clients I've worked with for a very short period of time and they did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work.
Mm-hmm.
People will want to avoid this also because it seems like it will take so long. It does
Mm,
not take if we don't if we put if we just do these things that we've been talking about. It doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be a lengthy process. It just has to be
yeah.
an intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think the process or the journey is long, but you can see incremental progress pretty quickly. Like any worthy endeavor, it just takes a lot of discipline and intention.
Yep.
Jamie, thank you so much. Where can people find you and learn about you and
Oh, geez, where
get
can they
involved?
find me? Okay, I have a free Facebook group called Stuck to Unstoppable, so that's obviously on Facebook. And then my business page is Time to Heal Coaching. I forgot to
Mm-hmm.
mention that's the name of my business.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram. Instagram, it's Jamie Coscia Inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's stuff in the link tree that can lead you back to the group and my freebies and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll post all
Yeah.
that in the for the
And I do have
video.
a website. It's a little under the construction right now, but it's going to be the same. But it's a time to heal coaching.com.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and I'll see you in the Facebook groups.
Yep.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
You too.